go here for audio. The other audio thing didn't want to work, so we are gonna fix this. There we go. Should be, yeah. Oh. We are gonna make this work. Okay. So, yeah, I don't even know how to start. I have no clue what I'm doing. It's my first time doing this. So, yeah, I'm gonna be reading Heimskringla by Snorri Sturluson. This book was given out, I think, 1911, but this is the 19... Wait, what was it? Or was it what? It does give me a few years in this book. One says 1911, then 1936, then 1851 to 1911. So, but the stories in this book is from like 900 something or 800 something. The stories are super old. It's Old Norse Viking stories, and there is a debate about the first few stories because Snorri Sturluson, he heard these stories from other people, gathered them, and put them in one book. So, yeah, this is gonna be fun. I will be reading, so the text in this book is Old Norse, and I can understand Old Norse, but I will be also reading in English on my phone, because when I thought about how I could translate for English speaking people, I realized that there were so many Icelandic words that don't have an English word, and it would just be too difficult for me to just translate on the fly. So I will read a few chapters and then I will stop reading them in Old Norse, and then I will read them all in English so people can understand. Or I will just do it chapter by chapter, but the chapters in this book is super, how do I say this? They are short. They are very, very, very short. So yeah, I'm gonna start with the prologue in the book. And yeah, I'm gonna read the prologue first, and then I will read it in English, and then we will get to the yeah. And I'm gonna try to sit properly because I don't want to ruin my back. Do you guys hear me okay though? Because I cannot hear. I don't have headphones in. I'm gonna check on my phone to make sure that it's okay. I'm sorry. I'm a noob to this. And yeah. So yeah, we are just gonna be doing a lot of... Okay, it sounds good on my phone, so it should be good for you guys. So let me just... Yeah. I forgot one. It says I'm gonna be disappearing from friends from a little bit. I'm gonna let them know. Sorry about all this. I know this will go up on YouTube, but I need to go back here and do share. think people will be okay with it. People can skip this. Let's do this. And then this. And you're gonna... I'm so sorry, I'm so underprepared. I'm very underprepared. But that is okay. Practice makes perfect. Am I right? There we go. There we go. There we go. And now we can disappear and start reading. Also, my reading is very bad. I do apologize. Okay. Í bók þessi leit Eik ritar fornar frásagnir höfðingi þá er ríki hafi haft á Norðurlöndum og á danska tungu hafi mælt. Sá sem Eik hefur heyrt fróða menn segja svo á nokkrunarkynsskvilli þeirra eftir því sem mér hefði kennt verið. Sumt það eru finnsk í langfæðgatali því konungar hefði ríkt kyn sitt eða aðrir stjórnættaðir menn en sumir ritir eftir fornum kvæðum eða söguljóðum. Menn hafa haft til skemmtunar sér en þó að vitni eigi sannindi á því. Við vitum hver dæmi til þess að gamlir fræðimenn hafa slíkt fyrirsagt hafa. Þjóðólfur hinn fróði og hvenær var skáld Haralds hinn hárfagra og hann ort Rögnvald konung hýðum. Hærra kvæði það kallað Ynglingstal. Rögnvaldur var sonur Ólafs Geirsstaða-Álfs, bróðir Hálfdanar svarta. Í því kvæði eru nefndir langfeðga hans og sagt frá dauða hvers þeirra og leikstað. Fjölnir var sá nefndur sonur var Yngvi Freys, þess Svíar hafa blótað lengi síðan. Af hans nafni eru Ylingdal kallaðir. Eyvindur skáldspillir taldi og langfara Hákonsjarls ríkja í kvæði því. Hálagi tal heitir var Hákon Steingrím en þar nefndir son Yngvi Freys sagt þar og frá dauða hvers þeirra og hugstað. Eftir Þjóðólfssög fyrst ritir ævi Ynglings og það við auki eftir sögn frá fróðframanna. En fyrsta öld kölluð brunöld, þá skyldi brenna alla dauða menn og reisa eftir bautasteina, en síðan Freyr hafði heiður verið að uppsölum. Þá gerðu margir höfðingjar eigi síður hauga en bautastein til minninga eftir frænda sinn, en síðar Daninn mikilláti Danakonungur lét sér hauga gera og bauð slíkt þangað bera dauðan með konungskrúði og herbúnaði og hest hann með söðureiði og mikið fé annað. En ættamenn gerðu margir svo síðar og hófst á haugskjöld þar í Danmörku lengi síðan helst brunöld með Svíum og Norðmönnum. En Haraldur hinn hárfagri var konungur í Noregi þá byggðist Ísland. Með Haraldi voru skáld og kunna menn en kvæði þeirra og allra konunga kvæði þeirra síðan hafa verið að Noregi og tóku við þar með mest dæmi af því. Vá. Sagt í þeim kvæðum kveðin váru fyrir sjálfum höfðingjunum eða sonum þeirra. Tókum við þátt allt fyrir sátt. Í þeim kvæðum finnst ferðir þeirra eða orustur. Það hátt skálda að lofa þann mest, þá eru þeir fyrir, en enginn myndi það þora að segja sjálfum honum, þegar verk hans allir þeir heyrði víst að hér komið væri og skrök, og svá sjálfri hann þátt væri það háði en eigi lof. Frá Araprestinum fróða, Araprestur inn fróði Þorgils Gillissonar ritaði fyrst manna hér á landi en norrænu máli fræði bæði forna og nýja. Rita hann mest í upphafi sinna bóka frá Íslandsbyggð og lagsetni síðan frá lögsögumönnunum, hversu lengi hver hafði sagt og hafði þá ártal fyrst til þess, kristni kom á Ísland en síðan allt til sín daga. Hann tók þar og við mörg önnur dæmi bæði konungæfi í Noregi og Danmörk og svo í Englandi, eða en stórtíðindi görshafði hér í landi og þykir mér hans sögn öll merkilegust. Var hann forvitni og svo gamall að hann var fæddur næsta vetur eftir fall Haralds Sigurðssonar. Hann ritaði sem hann sjálfur segir ævi Noregskonunga og eftir sögum Odds Kolssonar Hallssonar af síðu en Odd nam að Þorgeiri áfráðskoll þeim manni vitur var og svo gamall að hann bjóð þá í Niðarnesi Hákon jarl en ríkið var drepinn í þeim sama stað lét Ólafur konungur Tryggvason efna til kaupvax. Það sem nú Ari prestur kom. There are old numbers here that I cannot read, so I'm sorry about that. Vetur. Halli var maður stórvita og minningar. Hann mun það Þambrandur prestur skríði hann 3 vetran. Það var Petri fyrir en Kristinn væri í lög tekinn á Íslandi. Ari var vetragamall, það var Ísleifur biskup andaðist. Hallur fór milli landa og hafði félag Ólafs konungsins helga og fékk að því uppreisnarmikla var honum því kunnugt ríki hans en þá Ísleifur biskup andaðist og liði frá falli Ólafs konungs Tryggvasonar nær vetra. Hallur andaðist vetrum síðan en Ísleifur biskup þá var Hallur að vetratali nýðræð og vetra. Hann hafði gjört búið í Hauksdal 3 og bjóð þar og vetra. Svo ritaði Ari Teitrason Ísleifs biskup var með Halli í Haukdal að fóstri og bjóð þar síðan. Hann lærði Araprest og margfræði sagði honum þá Ari ritaði síðan. Ari nam og marga fræði að Þuríði dóttur Snorra goða. Hún var spök að viti, hún munði Snorra föður síns, en hann var þá nær hálffertugur kristni kom á Ísland, en andaðist einum vetri eftir fall Ólafs konungsins helga. Það var eigendalegt að Ari væri samfröður að fornum tíðindum bæði hér að utanlands, að hann hafði numt að gömlum mönnum og vitrum en var sjálft námgjarn og minningur. En kvæðin þykja mér síst staðfærð að þau rétt kveðin og skynsamlega upptekin. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. Listened on 1.5 till I cut up before we played. Hey everyone! You guys are on a little bit of you're like few seconds behind me in real time, so I will try my best to reply to you guys. I said in the beginning of the stream when you guys were not here, also thank you for being here, that I would first read out of the book and then I have the book in English on my phone, and instead of just translating it to you guys, I will be reading everything again except in English. So now I just finished the prologue for the book and now I will be reading it again but in English because I thought that doing it on the fly would be very difficult for me because there are so many Icelandic words that do not have English words. So it would be very, very, very difficult for me to explain to you guys how, yeah, it would just be very difficult for me to explain. But I did find the book in English, so that would be no problem at all to read it all again in English when I'm done, like, reading. So, yeah, we love the internet. We can find books for free. mm. And since you guys are here and did not hear my disclaimer earlier, in this book there are stories that Snorri Sturluson wrote, but they were so old before he was born that it's not like factually known if they are actually true, because they are so old, because some of them happened, like, I can't remember, almost 100 years before he was born or something like that. It just, there is an argument with historians how accurate the first few chapters are. So just know that, but I will still read it and all that. But the longer we get into the book, the more historically accurate historians think it is and important it is to remember these stories, because these are the only living stories from this time. So, yeah, and then you guys can always go back and listen to them again, because I will be putting this on my YouTube. Anyways, I just finished reading the Icelandic, well, Old Norse. I forgot how difficult it can be to read Old Norse, because there's so many words that are not Icelandic but kind of are. So, and they, like, it's literally, ah, yeah, I love it though. I love it. Mm. Okay, here we go with the English version. Sometimes the real importance is the enjoyment of the stories, regardless of total accuracy or not. Exactly. I agree with that. I really, really, really agree with that. And I have always enjoyed these stories and the author of this book, just because we haven't gone far. The author of this book, we had to learn about him in school when I was younger, because he is one of the best known, like, he was born a little bit after the Viking Age, so you can't really, let's just call him a scholar. He was a scholar. He's the best known Icelandic, like, scholar, poet, all of that. So we had to learn about him in school, and yeah, every time after that, I just loved this story. So when I saw this book at an old bookstore, I bought it, and I spent way too much on it, but it was worth it. It's over 100 years old, I think, or if it's not 100 years old, it's very close to it. Anyways, in this book, I've had, wow, English is more difficult than Old Norse. Okay, give me 1 second. Wow. In this book, I have had written old stories about those rulers who have held power in the northern lands and have spoken the Scandinavian language, as I have heard them told by learned men and some of their genealogies, according to what I have been taught, some of which is found in the records of paternal descent, in which kings and other men of high rank have traced their ancestry, and some is written according to old poems or narrative songs which people used to use for their entertainment. And although we do not know how true they are, we know of cases where learned men of old have taken such things to be true. Basically what I was saying. This is the prologue for the book. Þjóðólfur in Fróði, the learned from Finnr was a poet of King Haraldur in Hárfagri, the fine-haired. Basically, Þjóðólfur in Fróði. So Þjóðólfur is a name. That's the name of the person we're talking about. In Fróði means they learned. So basically in the old days, you had your name and then you were known as something. Like this Þjóðólfur in Fróði. They learned. So whenever you were talking about someone, you used to say what they were known as, and then you would know what person you were talking about. And then again as King Haraldur hinn Hárfagri, the fine hair. So he was known as King Haraldur fine haired because he was known for having fine hair. He composed a poem in honor of King Rögnvaldur Heiðurhæri, nobly grey. Hi there, just wanted to jump in and say have a great weekend. Oh, thank you, you too. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Which is called Ingligstal. Rögnvaldur was the son of Ólafur Geirsstaðaálfur, brother of Hálfdán Svarti, the Black. In the poem are named 30 of his paternal ancestors, and the death and burial place of each of them is related. The one called Fjölnir was son of Yngvi Freyr, whom the Svíar worshipped for a long time afterwards. The Ynglingar are named after him. Eyvindur Skáldarspili, poet spoiler, also enumerated the paternal ancestors of Jarl Hákon Hinriki the Great. In the poem that is called Háleigatal, which is composed in honor of Hákon, in the poem Sæmungur is named as a son of Yngvi Freyr. There's also the death and burial place of each of them is related. The history of the Ynglingar is written first according to Þjóðólfur's account and augmented according to the account of learned men. The first age is called Age of Burning. At that time, all dead people had to be burned and memorial stones raised for them. But after Freyr had been interred in a mound at Uppsalir, many rulers built mounds as well as memorial stones in memory of their kingsmen. But after Danir in Mikilláti, the haughty king of the Danes, had a mound built for himself and commanded that he should be carried into it when he was dead with his royal robes and armor and its horse with all its saddle gear and many other goods. And many people of his line had later done the same. Then the age of mounds began there in Denmark, though the age of burning continued long after among the Svíar and Norwegians. And when Haraldur hinn Hárfagri was king in Norway, Iceland was settled. There were skalds, poets with King Haraldur, and people still know their poems, and poems about all the kings there have been in Norway since, and have mostly used as evidence what is said in those poems that were recited. Wow, I'm so sorry. Recited before the rulers themselves or their sons were regarded as true. We regard as true everything that is found in these poems about their expeditions and battles. It is indeed the habit of poets to praise the most highly the one in whose presence they are at the time, but no one would dare to tell him to his face about deeds of his which all who listed, as well as the man himself, knew were falsehoods and fictions. There would be mockery and no praise. The priest Ari in Fróði, the learned, son of Thorgil, son of Gilir, was the first person in this country to write down history, both ancient and recent, in the Norse language. He wrote in the beginning of his book mostly about the settlement of Iceland and the establishment of the laws, then about the law speakers, how long each had served, and he used that reckoning of years first to the point when Christianity came to Iceland, and then all the way down to his own time. He also included much other material, both the lives of kings in Norway and Denmark, and also in England, and further the where was it? Further the important events that had taken place in this country, and all his accounts seems to me most noteworthy. He was very wise and so old that he was born in the year after the death of King Haraldur Sigurðsson. He wrote, as he himself says, Lives of Kings of Norway according to the account of Oddur, son of Köll, son of Hallur, and Síða and Oddur learned them from Þorgeir Afraðskollur, payment job. A wise man and so aged that he was living in Niðarnes when Jarl Hákon Henriki was killed. Wait. In the same place, Ólafur Tryggvason had Mark town founded, where it still is now. At the age of 7, Ari the priest came to live. Wait, is that 7? Wait. That is 7. Huh. Sorry, learning new things. Wow. Ari the priest came to live with Hallur Þórarinsson in Haukdalur and stayed there for 14 years. Hallur was a very intelligent man with a good memory. He remembered being baptized by the priest Þangbrandur at the age of 3. That was a year before Christianity was adopted into the law in Iceland. Ari was 12 years old when Bishop Ísleifur died. Hallur traveled from country to country and had businesses dealing with King Ólafur hinn Helgi, the saint, from which he gained great advancements. Wow. So he was knowledgeable about his reign, but when Bishop Ísleifur died, almost 80 years had passed since the death of King Ólafur Tryggvason. Hallur died 9 years after Bishop Ísleifur. Hallur had been reached the age of 94 years. Wow, that is so old for that time. He had set up his farm in Haukdalur when he was 30 and lived there for 64 years. So wrote Ari. Teitur, son of Bishop Ísleifur, was brought up by Hallur in Haukdalur and lived there afterwards. He taught Ari the priest and gave him much information which Ari afterwards wrote down. Ari also learned much information from Þuríður, daughter of Snorri Goði, the priest chieftain. She had a highly intelligent mind. She remembered her father Snorri, and he was nearly 35 when Christianity came to Iceland and died 1 year after the death of King Ólafur hinn Helgi. So it was not surprising that Ari was accurately informed about past events both here and abroad, since he had learned from old and wise people and himself eager to learn or retentive as the poems. I consider them to be least corrupted if they are correctly composed and meaningfully interpreted. Merci, quanta brasa. Sorry, my cat was doing something. Okay, that was the prologue. Now we can go to the first Yndlingssaga. Let me just. Okay. Whew. My voice is gonna be so gone after this, but that's okay. I'm enjoying it. Mercy! Either it's her or the children outside. Anyways. Ynglingsaga, kapli 1. Hér segir frá landaskipan. Kringla heimsins, sú mannfólk byggðir, mjög váskorin. Ganga höfstór úr útsjánum inn í jörðina. Það kunnugt að haf gengir frá Norðursundum og allt út til Jórsalalands. Af hafinu gengur langt hafsbotn til landnorðs heitir Svartahaf. Það skilur heimsþriðjungana heiti fyrir austan Asía, en fyrir vestan kalla sumir Europa, en sumir Íona. En norðan að Svartahafi gengur Svíþjóð, hinn mikla eða hinn kalda. Svíþjóð hina miklu kalla sumir menn, eigi minni Serkland hið mikla. Sumir jafna henni við Bláland hið mikla, en norðri hlutar Svíþjóðar liggur byggð af frosnu og kuðla. Sá sem syðri hluta Blálands auður af sólabruna. Í Svíþjóð stórheiru mörg. Þar og margs konar þjóðir og margra tungur. Þar risa og þar dvergar. Þar blámenn og þar margs konar undarlegar þjóðir. Þar og dýr og dreka furlinga stórir. Og norðrif frá fjöllum þeim fyrir utan byggð alla, fellur á Svíþjóð, sú réttur heitir Tanais, þó var forðum köllum Tanakvísi eða Vanakvísl. Hann kom til sjávar inn í Svarthaf, í Vankvíslum var þá kallað Vanaland eða Vanaheimar. Sú skilur heimþriðjunga heiti fyrir austan Asíu en fyrir vestan Europa. That was the first chapter, and we are going to read it in English for you guys, so I'm not going to go too far ahead of you. Chapter 1. The Disk of the World. The mankind inhabits is very intended with bays. Large bodies of water run from the ocean into the land. It is known that a sea extends from Norðursund, the Straits of Gibraltar, all the way to Jórsalaland, Palestine. Oh, Jórsalaland is Palestine. We are learning something new. From the sea, a long gulf called Svartahaf, the Black Sea, extends to the northeast. It divides the world into thirds. To the east is the region called Asia, and the region to the west some call Europe, and some India. And from the north to Svarthaf extends Svíþjóð in Mikla, Sweden the Great, or in Kalda, the Cold. Some claim Svíþjóð in Mikla to be no smaller than Serkland in Mikla, Serkenland the Great, North Africa. Others compare it to Bláland in Mikla, Blackland the Great, Africa. The northern part of Svíþjóð remains uninhabited because of frost and cold, just as the southern part of Bláland is empty because of the heat of the sun. In Svíþjóð there are many large and uninhabitable areas. There are also nations of many kinds and many languages. There are giants there and dwarfs. There are black people there and many kinds of strange nations. There are also amazingly large wild animals and dragons from the north. From the mountains there beyond all habitation flows a river through Svíþjóð that is probably called Tanais, Don. It was formerly called Tanakvísl, fork of the Don, or Vinakvísl, fork of the Vanir. It reaches the sea in Svartahaf, the land within Vanakvíslir, delta of the Don, was then called Vanaland, land of Vanir, or Vanaheimur, world of Vanir. This river separates the third of the world. The region to the east is called Asia, that to the west, Europe. Okay. Also, I'm reading most of this for the first time. I usually just knew where my favorite stories were, read them, and didn't read anything else. So we are gonna be learning a lot of history together. Wow. Okay. Kappi 2 frá Óðni. I'm gonna hold this book up. It's also a very heavy book. It's a little bit heavy. Frá Óðni, fyrir austan Tanakvísl í Asíu var kalt Ásland eða Ásheimur, en höfuðborginni var í landi kölluðu þeir Ásgarð, en í borginni var höfðingi sá Óðinn var kallaður. Þar var blóðstaður mikill, það var þar síður að höfðingjar voru æstir. Skyldi þeir ráða fyrir blótum og dómi manna í milli. Þar eru dýjar kallaðir eða drottnar. Þeim skyldi þjónusta veita og lotningar, allt fólk. Óðinn var hermaður mikill og mjög viðförull og eignaðist mörg ríki. Hann var svo sigsæll að í hverju orustu fékk hann gagn og svo kom að hans menn trúðu því að hann ætti heimilan sigri í hverju orustu. Þetta var háttur hans og hann sendi menn sína til orustu að aðra sendifara. Hann lagði að hendi í höfuð þeim og gaf þeim bjánag. Trúðu þeir að þá myndi vel farast, svo var og hans menn, hvar sem þeir urðu í nauðum staddir, á sjá eða á landi, þá kölluðu þeir á nafn hans og þótt jafna fá af því frá, það þóttust þeir eiga allt traust hann var. Hann var og svo langt í brot að hann dvaldist í ferðinni mörg misseri. Some chapters are long, some are very short, so bear with me, please. Chapter 2. To the east of Tanakvísl in Asia, it was called Ásland, land of Æsir, or Ásimar, world of the Æsir, and the capital city that was in the land was called Ásgarður, and in the town was the ruler who was called Óðinn. There was a great place of worship there. It was the custom there that 12 temple priests were of high rank. They were in charge of the worship and judgment among people. They are known as dýjar, or lords. They were to receive service and veneration from all people. Óðinn was a great warrior and very widely traveled and took power over many countries. He was so blessed with victory that in every battle he was the winner. And it came about that his people believed that he was able to assign victory in every battle. It was his custom, if he was sending his men into battle or on other missions, that he first laid his hand on their head and gave them a bjánag, basically just blessing them. They believed that then things would turn out well. It was also the case where his men, that whenever they were in trouble on sea or on land, they called on his name, and always seemed to get help from that. They believed that all their security depended on him. He often went away so far that he spent many seasons on the journey. Okay, we are going to read at least how about 6 chapters, because number 5 and 4 are a little bit long and my voice is already giving out. I'm sorry, but the prologue was long. Frá Óði og bræðrum hans. Óðinn átti 2 bræður, hét annar Vei en annar Vilir. Þegar bræður hans stýrðu ríkinu, þegar hann var í brottu, þar var eitt sinn þegar Óðinn var farinn langt í brott og hafði lengi dvalst að Ásum, þótt örvænt hans heim, og tóku bræður hans að skipta arfi hans, en konu hans Frigg gengu þau báðir að eiga, en litlu síðar kom Óðinn heim, tók hann þá við konu sinni. Jú, If I read that right, that is the... You guys will be disgusted. No. Okay. Odin had two brothers. One was called the, and the other Vilir. These brothers of his governed the realm while he was away. It happened once when Odin had gone far away and had been away for a long time that the Aesir lost hope of his return. Then his brother began to divide up his estate between themselves, but his wife, Frigg, they made partner to them both. But soon after Odin came back, then he took back his wife. That is it. Vikings were nasty. But hey, they thought he was dead. Ófrið við vani. Óðinn fór með her á hendi vonum en þeir urðu vel við og vörðu land sitt og höfðu ýmsir sigrað. Héruðir sváir land annarra og gerðu skaða. En þá leiðis hvárum tveggjum, lögðu þeir milli sín sættarstefnu og gerðu frið og seldu skýslar. Fengu vanir sína inn á ágæstu menn, Njörðin Auðga og son hans Frey en æsir þar í mót þann. Hænir hélt og kölluði hann alveg til höfðingja fallinn. Hann var mikill maður og innvænst með honum sendu æsir þann Mímir hét, hinn vitrasti maður en vanir fengu þar í mót þann sparkast var í þeirri flokki, sá dyggt kvasir. En Hænir kom í Vanaheim, þá var hann þegar höfðingi Gur. Mímir kenndi honum ráð öll, en ef Hænir var staðir á þingin eða stefnum, svara Mímir var eigi nær og kæmi nokkuð vandamál fyrir hann, þá svaraði hann æginu sama. Ráði aðrir, hvað hann, þá grunaði Vanir að æsir myndi hafa falst þá í mannskiptinu. Þá tóku þeir Mími og hálshögðu og sendu höfði Ásum. Óðinn tók höfuðið og smurði urtum þeim eigi mátti funa og hvað þar yfir galdra og magnaði svá að þá mælti hann og sagði honum marga leynihluta. Norð og Freyr setti Óðinn blóðugt og svo voru þeir dýjar með Ásum. Dóttir Naðar var Freyja. Hon var blótgeðja. Hon kendi fyrst með Ásum seið sem voru var títt. Þá Norð var með vonum, þá hafði hann átt systur sína því að þær voru þar lög, voru þær Freyr og Freyja, en þar var bannað með Ásum að byggja svo nátt að frændsemi. I need something to put in between. I don't have anything to put between. Oh, we'll figure it out. Okay. Chapter 4 for you guys. I hope somebody is here to enjoy this and that I'm not just talking to myself. It will be fine. We are fine. Everything is fine. Chapter 4. Odin went with an army against the Vanir, but they put up a good fight and defended their land, and victory went alternately to both sides. They each raided the other's land and did damage, but when both sides grew weary of this, they arranged a meeting of reconciliation between them and made peace and gave each other hostages. The Vanir put forward their noblest men. Thank you. Noblest men, Njörð the Wealthy and his son Freyr, and the Æsir in return the one called Hænir, and they claimed that he was very suitable to be a ruler. He was a large and mostly handsome man. With him the Æsir sent the one called Mímir, a very clever man, and in return the Vanir put forward the wisest in their company. He was called Kvasir, but when Hænir came to Vanheim, he was at once made a lord. Mímir always told him what to do, but when Hænir was present at councils or meetings, Where Mimir was not nearby and any problem came before him, he always answered the same way. Let others decide. Then, when Vanir suspected that Æsir must have cheated them in the exchange of men, then they took Mimir and beheaded him and sent his head to the Æsir. Odin took the head and smeared it with herbs that prevented it from decaying, then recited spells over it and imbued it with magic powers so that it spoke to him and told him many secret things. Njörður and Freyr Odin appointed as sacrificial priest, and they were gods. Among the Æsir, Njörð's daughter was Freyja. She was a sacrificial priestess. She was the first to teach the Æsir black magic, which was customary among the Vanir. When Njörð was among the Vanir, he had been married to his sister, for that was the law there. Their children were Freyr and Freyja, but it was forbidden among the Æsir to cohabit with such close kin. Man, these stories are gonna be weird. Very weird. But it's gonna be fine. Okay. Chapter number 5. Frá grefjum. Fjallgarður mikill gengur af landnorðri til útskurs. Svo skilir Svíþjóðin miklu og önnur ríki fyrir sunnan fjallið eiginland til Tyrklands. Þar átti Óðinn eignir stórar. Í þann tíma fóru Rómverjar höfðingjar víða heiminn og brutu undir sig allar þjóðir, en margir höfðingjar flýðu fyrir þeim ófriða af sínum eignum. En fyrir því að Óðinn var forspár og fjölkunnugur, því vissi hann að hans afkvæmi myndi norðurshálfu heimsins byggva. Þá setti hann bræður sína Veig og Vili yfir Ísgarð, en hann fór og dýjar allir með honum og mikið mannfólk annað. Fór hann fyrir vest í Garðríki og þá suður í Saxland. Hann átti marga sonu og eignaðist ríki víða Saxland og setti þar son sinn til landsgæslu. Það fór hann norður til sjávar og tók sér bústað í ey einni þar heitir nú Óðinsey í Fjóni. Þá sendi hann gefjum norð yfir sundið á landsleitan. Þá kom hann til Gylfa og gaf hann henni eitt Pólsland. Þá fór hann í Jötunheima og gat þar I don't know what number this is. Sonum Jötnu nokkrum. Hann brá þeim í Yxnalíki og færði þá fyrir plóginni og dró landið út á hafið og vesturgengt Óðinsey og þar kölluð Selund. Þar byggði hann síðar, hennar fékk Skjöldur, sonur Óðins. Þá bjuggu að hléðru. Þar vatn eða sjá eftir. Þar kallað Logrin. Sváligri liggja firðir. Þetta firðir í leiknum sem nesi Selund, svo hvað Bragi en gamli. Gefinn dró frá Gylfa glöddrúpslu óðla, sótt af rennirauknum rauk Danmarka auga, voru ox og átta innin til þar gengu, fyrir vini að viðra vallra fjögur höfðu. En Óðinn spurði að góðri landskostir váru austur að Gylfa fór hann þann og gerði þeir Gylfa sætt sinna, því að Gylfi þótti engin kraft til að hafa til mótstöðu við ásana. Margt ættust þeir Óðinn við og Gylfi í brögðum og sjónhverfingu og urðu æsi jafna ríkri. Óðinn tók sér bústað við laugin, þar sem nú kallað fornir Sigtúnir, og gerði þar mikið og blót eftir sveðjunu ásana. Hann eignaðist þar lönd svo vítt sem hann leit heita Sigtúnir. Hann gaf bústað höfðingjum. Njörður bjó í Nóatúnum, Freyr að Uppsölum, Heimdallur að Himinbjörgum, Þór á Þrúðvangi, Baldur á Breiðabliki, öllum fékk hann þeim góða bólstaði. Okay, that was chapter number 5. Okay. A great mountain range runs from the northeast to the southwest. It divides the Svíþjóð. Okay, Svíþjóð is Sweden. I forgot to mention that earlier. Svíþjóð is Sweden. We are now talking about Sweden. In Mikla from other realms. To the south of the mountains, it is not far from Tyrkland, land of Turks, Asian Minor. Tyrkland is Turkey, I think. There, Odin had large possessions at the time. The rulers of the Romans, this is when the Romans were, traveled widely around the world and conquered all nations, and many rulers fled their lands because of this aggression, and because Odin had he was able to make profits and magical powers. He knew that his descendants would inhabit the northern region of the world. Then he appointed his brothers Ve and Vilir to rule Asgard, while he and all the gods with him, and many of the people left. He went first west into Garðríki, Russia, and then the south of Saxland, Germany. Ooh, Saxland is Germany, I did not know that. And he had many sons. He made himself king over large parts of Saxland, Germany, and established his sons there to guard the land. Then he went north to the sea and took up residence on a certain island. The place is now called Odin's sanctuary. And Finn. Then he sent Gefjun north over the sound in search of land. Of land. She came to Gylfi, and he gave her 1 plough land. Then she went into Jotunheim, world of giants, and had 4 sons with a certain giant. She changed them into the form of oxen and put them to the plough, and hauled the land into the sea and west next to Onnesey, and that is called Sæland. There she lived afterwards. Skjöldur, son of Odin, married her. They lived at Heiðlar. I don't even know how to say this word. Anyways, Hléðra. A lake was left behind. It is called Logrin. That is a Swedish word. The fjords in Logrin responds to the headlands in Sæland, so said Bragi in Gamli. Gefum drag from Gylfi gladly a searing homeland. Denmark addition, so that the drought beast were steaming, with 8 orbs of the forehead, the oxen in front of the plundered isle with white pastured paste and forehead also. This is a lot more easier to just read in my book, but I know what it's meaning. But when Odin heard that good land was available from Gylfi to the east, he went there, and he and Gylfi came to terms because Gylfi did not think he had the power to withstand the Æsir. Odin and Gylfi often competed in tricks and illusions, and the Æsir were always superior. Odin established his dwelling by Logrin at the place now called Old Sigtunir, and built a large temple there and performed sacrifices according to the custom of the Æsir. He took possession of lands over the whole area that he gave the name Sigtunir to. He gave dwelling places to the temple priests. Njörður lived at Nóatún, Freyr at Uppsalir, Heimdall at Himinborg, Thor at Þúðvangur, Baldur at Breiðablik. He provided them all with good residence. Blah, 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 blah. I actually am having a lot more easy time to read Old Norse than English. I do not know how to explain this, but it's very, very weird. And I'm here for it because I am very proud of myself that I actually understand what I'm reading, but I will never be able to translate it for you guys properly. That is the truth. Oh my lord. Okay. Uh, let's read two more chapters. Wait, how long is the seventh? Let's read one more. The seventh is a little bit long, and my throat. I will not be able to speak for the rest of the day. That is for sure. If I want to read tomorrow, I will also try to read tomorrow. I will try to do it around 3 p.m. also, if that works for you guys. So yeah, I will always try to read. Wait, it's 3 p.m. for me, so well, almost 4 now. It's 4:16, so I will try to read around this time, if that is okay with you guys. Anyways, uh, okay, this is gonna sound so bad. I cannot say the name of this chapter in Icelandic because it's a bad word in English. It's chapter 6. Let's just say chapter 6. Frá atgerfi Óðins. Þegar Ása Óðinn kom á Norðurlönd og með honum dýjar, það sagt með sannindum að þeir hófu og kendi íþrótti þær menn hafa lengi síðan með farið. Óðinn var gjöfgastur af öllum og af honum námu þeir alla íþróttirnar, því að hann kunni fyrst allar og þó flestar. Og þar að segja fyrir hverja sök hann var svá mjög tignaðir. Þá báru þessi hluti til, hann var svo... I understand, I remember being a child in Germany and I can understand what I'm reading but trying to interpret it. Oh yeah, it can be very difficult. Var svo fagri og gjöfgleri á litin. Þá hann sá með sínum vinum að öllum hló hugur við, en þá hann var í her syndist hann gringlegur sínum óvinum, en það bar til þess að hann kunni þær íþróttir að hann skipti litum og líkjum á hverjum lund en hann vildi. Önnur var sú að hann talaði svá snjallt og slétt að öllum á hirðu, þótti það eina satt. Mælti hann allt hendingum, svo sem nú það kveðst, skáldskapur heitir, hann og höfgoðar hans héta ljósmíðir. Því að svo íþrótt hófst að þeim í Norðlöndum Óði kunni svo gera að í orustu urðu óvinir hans blindir eða daufir eða óttafullir. En vá þeir bytu eigi, heldur en vendir, en hans menn fóru brynjulausir og voru galnir sem hundar eða vargar, bytu í skjöldu sína, váru sterkir sem birnir eða griðungar. Þeir drápu mannfólkið hvart eldri en ég jarðorti á þá, þeir kalla berserka gangi. Okay, this chapter is a little bit, yeah, let's just say, yeah. When Odir of the Aesir came to the northern lands and the gods with him, it is truthfully said that they originated and taught those skills that people went on practicing long afterwards. Odin was superior to all of them, and from him they learned all skills because he knew them all first, and yet more. But there is this to be said about why he was so very excellated. There were these reasons for it. He was so fair and noble in countenance that when he was sitting among his friends, that it rejoiced the hearts of all. But when he went to battle, he appeared ferocious to his enemies. And the reason was that he had the faculty of changing complexion and form in whatever manner he chose. Another was that he spoke so eloquently and smoothly that everyone who heard thought that only what he said was true. Everything he said was in rhyme, like the way what is now called poetry is composed. He and his temple priests were called craftsmen of poems, for the for that art originated with them in the northern lands. Odin could bring it about that in battle his opponents were struck with blindness or deafness or panic, and their weapons would cut no better than sticks, while his men went without mail and were as wild as dogs or wolves, biting their shields, being as strong as bears or bulls. They killed the people, but neither fire nor iron took effect on them. That is called berserk fury. Uh, I'm glad you're translating to English because this is interesting and I always support my recovery addicts friends. Yeah, I thought that if I would only read it in Icelandic, or, well, Old Norse. This is not Icelandic. This is Old Norse. And even though I can understand it, a lot of friends, well, friends, I mean, yes, you guys are my friends, but a lot of people, even in my country, a lot, and I mean a lot of people, cannot understand Old Norse, which is very sad to me. And it's a dying language, for sure. It's a dying language, and I love that I get to share it with you guys. And I thought about it when I was starting. I was like, I cannot read this in Old Norse and then try to translate myself because, like I said, there's so many words that are so difficult to explain. So I have the book in English as well, so it will be a lot easier for me. And I'm so happy that you guys are here and showing support because this means the world to me that I am able to share this because I could easily just read it in English, but that would not be that interesting. I would say because being able to have this skill is rare. It's very rare. And I even remember in my childhood, I was the only one that could understand even just old Icelandic. I was the only one. Even when we watched old Viking movies where they had old Icelandic or Old Norse, my classmates could not understand it, and I was the only one. So being able to share this with other people that appreciate it means the world. But if you guys want, I can at least read the seventh chapter, or we can uh, wait until tomorrow because I'm also gonna be reading tomorrow. So yeah, it's just up to you guys. Do you want me to continue, or are we gonna say good for today? And yes, this video will be available on my YouTube to watch when I am done. So it will be saved to my YouTube. I'm just glad to catch you live most days of the week. I have doctor's appointments on Sundays or church service, so I catch more replays than live. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I decided to do it on the weekends because okay, I will read one more. But yeah, I decided to do it on weekends because in the week I am super busy because I am watching The Recovery Addict, watching true crime. Wow, Court. We watch Court. I was thinking the Icelandic word. Uh, yeah, so we watch Court on the week, in the week, and on weekends I have nothing to do, so I was like, why not read for people? Okay, I will take one more. It's a little bit long, so yeah, one more. We will do one more. Uh, Kapli 7 frá íþróttum Óðins. Óðinn skipti hömum þá lágbúkri sem sofinn eða dauður en hann var þá fugl eða dýr, fiskur eða ormur og fór á einni svipstundu á fjarlæg lönd að sínum erindum eða annarri manna. Það kunni hann en að gera með orðum einum að slökkva eld og kyrra sá og snúa vindum. Hver leið hann vildi og hann átti skip það skýðblaðnir hét. Hann fór á yfir höf stór en það mátti sveigja saman sem dúk. Vefja saman sem dúk, vá. Óðinn hafði með sér höfuð Mímis. Oh, yeah. Oh, now we're into Norse mythology. The head of Mimir. I did not know that this is where Head of Mimir came from. I will explain to you Head of Mimir later if this book doesn't. So, I even have to catch most of the characters on replay. Yeah, I thankfully can just watch it all day, every day, hopefully. But soon I will hopefully get a job, so I will be a little bit more busy. But we love Recovery Addict, at least I do. Yeah. Og sagði hann honum tíðindi úr öðrum heimum, en stundum vakti hann upp dauða menn jörðu að setja undir hanga. Fyrir því var hann kallaður draugadrottinn eða hangadrottinn. Hann átti hrafni 2 hann hafði tamt við mál, flugu þeir víða lönd og sögðu honum mörg tíðindi. Af þessum hlutum varð hann stórlega fróður, allir þeirra íþróttakenndi með rúnum. Wait. I'm starting to slowly understand numbers in this book. Ooh. Og ljóðum þeirra galdra heita, fyrir því eru æsir kallaðir galdrasmiðir. Óðinn kunni þá íþrótt svo að mestu mátti fylgdi og framdi sjálfu seiðri heiti, en af því mátti hann vita örlög manna og óorðna hluti svo og að gera mönnum bana eða óhamingju eða vanheileyðindi. Svo og að taka frá mönnum vit eða afl og gefa öðrum, en þessi fjölkyngi framið fylgi svá mikil ergi að eigi þótti karlmönnum skamslaust við að fara og var gyðjunum kennt svo íþrótt. Óðinn vissi allt jarðfé hvar fólki var og hann kunni þau ljóð upplögst fyrir honum og jörðin og björg og steinum og haugarnir og batt hann með orðum einum þá fyrir bjögu og gekk inn og tók þar slíkt hann vildi. Af þessu kröftum var hann mjög frægur. Óvinir hans óttuðust hann, en vinir hans treystuðu honum og trúðu á kraft hans og á sjálfan hann. En hann kenndi flestar íþróttir sinna blóðtöguðum, váru þeir næstum honum alla fróðleik og fjölkyngi. Margir aðrir námu þó mikið af og hefði þaðan af dreifst fjölkynning víða og haldsins lengi, en Óðinn og það höfðingja ég held að það sé 9 blótuðu menn og kölluðu, þetta er 12 og kölluðu goð sín og trúðu á lengi síðan. Eftir Óðins nafni var kallaður Auðunn og hétu menn svo son sína, en af Þórs nafni kallaður Þórir eða Þórarinn, eða drekkt af öðrum heitum til svo sem Steinþór eða Hafþór, eða breytt á fleiri veg. The fact that there are little bits of Norse mythology in these stories are actually crazy to me. That's insane. Also, we are going to be talking about magic and runes. Oh, I love this. I am so in my element. Okay. Chapter 7 for you guys. Let's do this. Odin changed shapes, then his body lay as if it was asleep or dead. While he was a bird or an animal, a fish or a snake, and traveled in an instant to distant lands on his own or other people's businesses. Business. Blah, blah. Cat, what are you doing? Get off the keyboard, please. Thank you. He also knew how to put out fire or calm the sea or turn the winds in any direction. He wished with words alone, and he owned a ship called Skith Bladnir, which he sailed over high seas, but it could be folded together like a cloth. That's what I was like, ooh, about. Sorry. Odin kept Mimir's head by him, and it told him new much news from other worlds, and sometimes he awakened the dead from the earth or sat himself under hanged men. Because of this, he was called Draugadrottinn, Lord of Ghosts, or Hangadrottinn, Lord of the Hanged. He had 2 ravens, which I caught on with the numbers, which he had trained to speak. They flew over distant countries and told him much news. From these things he became extremely wise, and all these skills he taught along with runes and those songs that are called galdrar, magic spells. Because of this, the Aesir are called galdrasmiðir, magic makers. Odin knew and practiced himself, the art of which is accompanied by greatest power, called Seiðir, black magic. And from it he could predict the fates of men and things that had not yet happened, and also cause men death or disaster or disease, and also take wit or strength from some and give it to others. But this magic, when it is practiced, it is accompanied by such great perseverance that it was not considered without shame for a man to perform it, and the skill was taught to the goddesses. Odin knew about all the treasure of the earth, where it was hidden, and he knew songs which would make the earth and cliffs and rocks and grave mounds open up before him, and with words alone he would bind those who were in them, and go in and take from there whatever he wanted. He became very famous because of these powers. His enemies feared him, but his friends trusted him and believed in his power and in him. And he taught most of his skills to his sacrificial priests. They were next to him in all lore and magic, and yet many others learned so much of it. And from there, heathendom spread widely and lasted for a long time, and people worshipped Odin and the 12 rulers. Ooh, I got the number right again. Sorry. And called them their gods and believed in them long afterwards. The name Odin comes from Odin, and people called their son this. And from Thor, the name comes the name from names Thorir or Thorarin, or it is combined with other elements, as in Steinthor or Hafthor, or changed further in other ways. This is actually very, very interesting. Because this is supposed to happen way before, like, the actual Vikings happened. Oh, the the camera was shaking because of my cat. I'm sorry if the camera was shaking. I actually think this, because his name is Odin, he has 2 ravens. He has the head of Mimir. This is fascinating. I love this. But I have been reading for an hour and 20 minutes almost, and my voice is dying, so I am going to go, and I will be reading again tomorrow. So, yeah, I will catch you guys tomorrow again. And thank you guys so much for being here. You are the absolute best. I really much appreciate you guys. Bye.